One of the most famous passages in the Bible is John chapter 3, verse 14, or actually 15 up to 17, especially verse 16. We're going to look at verse 14 to 16. It says, "And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up." Why? What's the purpose? That whosoever believes in him, whosoever means either Jew or Gentile. It doesn't matter. It's not an ethnic thing anymore. It's not because of a covenant with a certain nation. It is whosoever can believe in him, that they will not perish, but have eternal life. It then says that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Here we can see that eternal life and everlasting life is exactly the same thing. It's also what it says in the Greek. But I would like to go and have a look at only begotten. What does that mean? We are reading from verse 32. "And we declare unto you glad tidings, how that the promise which was made unto our fathers, God has fulfilled the same," the promise that he's talking about here, "unto us their children." How was the promise fulfilled, and what was promised? "In that he has raised up Jesus again. As it is also written in the second Psalm, You are my Son, this day have I begotten you." So we see here there was a day wherein Jesus was begotten according to the second Psalm. That day where Jesus was begotten refers to the resurrection, talking about Jesus being raised up again. So the begotten Son is the resurrected Jesus Christ. Let's read John 3:16 again. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, the resurrected Jesus Christ, that whosoever believes in him should not perish." Another word for perish there is to utterly die, "but have everlasting life." How does this everlasting life look? Exactly as what we see in the only begotten Son, the only one raised from the dead, never to die. So God has given the only begotten Son so that we will not perish or die utterly, but have eternal life. What does eternal life mean? According to Thayer definition, eternal life means without beginning and end, that which always has been and always will be, without beginning, without end, never to cease, everlasting. The only definition of life that would make sense when we connect it to eternal is point 2a of Thayer definition. It means of the absolute fullness of life, both essential and ethical, which belongs to God, and through him both to the hypostatic Logos and to Christ, in whom the Logos put on human nature. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten," the resurrected Jesus, the physical man that can never die, whose grave is empty, who possesses eternal life, the only begotten. He gave a resurrected Jesus to us, that whosoever believes on him, the resurrected Christ, should not perish, utterly die, but have without beginning and end that which always has been and always will be life. That means unending life that includes the character of God's life, the absolute life, the essence of life that includes the ethical part of it. So everlasting life, life that has no beginning and no end, that is the absolute necessary, essential life that is in God, that includes the ethical part. So we can share in the fullness of the life or the everlasting life of God through the only begotten, the resurrected Jesus Christ. We have access to this life, and everyone, whosoever believes, has access to this life, and they will not perish.